Hi, I'm Amanda and welcome to Self. I'm here to share ideas and experiences to explore the self with the aim of all of us just living happier and healthier lives. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about making good choices. So why are we talking about good choices? Well, something I've been thinking about is we often reflect a lot on poor decision making or choices that we might regret, and they provide great learning experiences for us. But at the same time, I think when we can acknowledge and honor the good choices we make for ourselves that make us feel good and honor our boundaries, I think there's so much that we can learn from those as well. And for me personally, the past couple of weeks, I've been making a lot of good choices that I'm pretty proud of myself for. So it's currently, the crazy hectic season between Christmas and New Year's, and I'm here in Japan. It's been busy and I've been, loaded with a lot of social events and whatnot. And this past week particularly has been hectic with work, like I said, social stuff, as well as other things going on. So I could see in myself that I was on the verge of getting sick. Like, my body needs a lot of rest, but I want to balance my hobbies like snowboarding and yoga. I'm teaching and working, and I'm trying to find balance in all of this and be able to have the energy and the space to show up properly and be present and be there with people. So I made some decisions to, I guess just to not overwhelm myself too much and to be able to still go and attend events without completely burning myself out. I think that was the thing I wanted to avoid, was burnout. And I often get to that point and experience burnout because, as you've heard in previous episodes, like, I have trouble saying no, or I get a bit of FOMO and just get really excited and want to say yes to everything. So I have made some great choices. Prime example is on Christmas Eve, we had a potluck with a bunch of mates at my friend's place. And I think I'd been working that day, so it was a bit of a long day. Got food ready, showed up, had dinner. We did our fun Secret Santa stealing, I can't remember what it's called, elephant something. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. And at 11:30, I said to my mates, I'm going home. And, everyone was still there and having a good time. And they're like, oh, come on, stay, and I was like, no, I got to go home. And I know that I need to sleep. I know that I need to be in bed before midnight. And that was a decision I made, and I was very happy with it, went home. I think my friends ended up staying there till 4 a.m. and they had a great time, and I'm stoked for them. But that was such a great decision for me because the next day I had energy to do the things that I wanted, like go snowboarding early in the morning and then prep food for another potluck that night. And then that evening, a couple of my other friends who were meant to show up at our dinner reached out to me and told me that, they were wrecked from work and stuff and they were really sorry, but they couldn't show up. And I was really happy to get that message from them because that was them honoring their own boundaries and making good choices for themselves. And that got me thinking about, when we make good choices for ourselves and how that's received by people around us. And I think when you're around people who are happy for you to make good choices, it reinforces that. And that can sometimes come at the cost of disappointing them. But I guess like people who love you, respect you, and respect your boundaries will always be willing and able to hold space and receive that from you. And likewise, with my mates who told me that they couldn't come, my response back was like, good for you, good for you for making these decisions. And I can see that you need a lot of rest, you've been working hard, and there's really, like, you're not disappointing me. I'm stoked for you because you're making a good decision for yourself. And I had, another friend who had driven to my house and was waiting outside, and he's just like, I've been sitting out here for 5 minutes contemplating whether I have the social energy to show up, and I just don't think that I do. And I'm like, yeah, that's all good. I totally hear that. I get it. And I guess often for us, sometimes I guess when people are making decisions for themselves, like good decisions, healthy decisions, whether that's for their mental, emotional, physical health, sometimes that can be a bit hard to receive, likely because we have placed an expectation on them, or an obligation. And I guess something that I really appreciate is when people don't place their expectations or obligations on me. And I guess, obviously there's some balance here in honoring your word and showing up for people when you say you're going to. And I think that we can find balance between doing that, but also not overstepping and completely burning ourselves out at the cost of doing that. And I'm not here to tell you what making good choices looks like for you. I think that's an individual thing, and perhaps we all know for ourselves. But yeah, that is something that I really appreciate. And I think during this time in particular, when there's a lot going on for everyone, and, with Christmas and New Year's and everything, we often hold people to a particular standard, or we have more expectations of them. We want to hold them to particular events or whatever. I think this is the best time to practice being able to just give people a bit of grace and a bit of compassion and understanding for them to make choices, good choices for themselves, and also encourage them to. And rather than making people feel guilty about, making these decisions and having to say it out loud, that we give them the opportunity to, and actually express gratitude when they do. I think that when we do that, it encourages and reinforces people really thinking about what is good for them and then honoring their boundaries. And I know that we've spoken a lot about boundaries in past episodes, but I think that for most of us, it's something we don't often honor and respect within ourselves, where we're often overstepping our own boundaries for the sake of other people. And that typically, in my experience, just leads to a level of resentment and frustration within myself. And so I guess if all of us kind of let go of our expectations that we have of other people, and we just allow people to show up the best that they can, and we really assume the best in them, then perhaps all of us, when we do get time together, will end up appreciating it a lot more, and I guess being really present and being able to show up as the best versions of ourselves. And I think from that, that's where we get to grow. That's where we get to know ourselves a lot more, and we get to listen to our own needs as well as communicate that to people. And I have always wanted to be a safe space for people to be able to communicate their needs. And so, I think something to be mindful of during this season is to listen to what's going on for you and to respect yourself, give yourself that kindness, and also be able to respect and show that outwardly to others as well when they communicate their needs and some boundaries. And if, people end up disappointing us, that's okay. It's okay to be disappointed, but I guess give people the opportunity and the opportunity to make good decisions for themselves. And, let's try not to make people feel guilty about it. So when I think about this year, and I think about a lot of the decisions that I've made that I'm not so proud of versus a lot of the good decisions, I think often our mind goes and focuses on a lot of those poor decisions, and we can hyper focus in and go, oh, I should have done this better, and I, should have, would have, could have. But I guess something that we also need to appreciate is all the good decisions that we've made. And this year, I've made a lot of good decisions for myself. I am really happy with where I am. And that has come from a series of respecting myself and my boundaries and making decisions that I felt were right for me. And I guess over the next few days, something that I encourage you to do is also to look back on this past year and to reflect on the good decisions that you've made and, give yourself props for that. I guess we can be pretty hard on ourselves and, dial in on the wrong decisions or regretful decisions or whatever. But we should also be proud of all the good choices that we've made. And I think that's a great opportunity to be kind to yourself, is by reflecting on those great choices from the year, from the week, from whenever. And that's something that I want to take in as I wrap up this year, is to look back and honor all the great decisions that I've made. And perhaps that's maybe something I can share in a later episode. We'll see. But yeah, bit of a short episode. I hope that, you've gained something from this. If you have, please let me know in comments or on Instagram, wherever. You will be hearing a lot more from me in Japan, and I will see you next Thursday. Please follow along, subscribe to the podcast, and leave a review if you enjoy it. I really appreciate you being here with me. See you next week. Bye.